Hey friends, I'm Kristen Dobniak, holistic health coach and trained chef, and today I want to share with you one of my favorite, really simple kitchen basics recipes. Most conventional mayonnaise have refined oils in them, like soy oil or canola oil, and we know that our bodies don't need any more omega-6 fats. We have plenty of them just by eating at restaurants and eating some packaged foods like many of us do. It's all about balance, right? But it's so easy to make your own homemade mayonnaise at home with oils that are really nutrient dense, and it's way easier to just have the mayonnaise on hand in your refrigerator than having to go to the store every time you want to make a coleslaw or a chicken salad. Plus, homemade mayonnaise is absolutely delicious. So you will need either a food processor, a high-speed blender that's gradual, like the Vitamix or a Blendtec, or an immersion blender for this recipe. So if you don't have any of those tools, go out and get one and then come back and you can make this recipe. But other than that, you only need simple ingredients that you probably already have on hand. So I'm going to share with you what ingredients you need and bring you through the very simple process of making homemade mayonnaise in the food processor. Okay, what you're going to need to make homemade mayonnaise. So my preferred oil for homemade mayonnaise is avocado oil. You can also use olive oil, but avocado oil, not only is it nutrient dense, it has monounsaturated fats just like olive oil, but it also has a very neutral flavor. It doesn't taste very much like avocados, so it's really ideal in this situation. Again, you can also use olive oil as well, but choose a good, heart-healthy oil that works well for you. Because mayonnaise is an emulsion, you're going to need something to emulsify that oil. So we're going to use an egg. I've experimented with vegan mayonnaise and I'm not quite there yet. So we're going to do our classic mayonnaise today. So I'm going to use one farm fresh egg, and that's what we're going to start with. And you also need some sort of an acid that's going to add to that flavor. So I'm using apple cider vinegar today, just 1 tablespoon, but you can also use lemon juice, and then a 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. So really, when it comes to homemade mayonnaise, it's method over everything. You're going to want to start with your farm fresh egg, or whatever egg you've got on hand. My recommendation is to crack the egg into another container before you put it into your food processor, just in case you get a little bit of the shell in that egg. Now, it happens sometimes with farm fresh eggs. Thankfully, I've got it. Because the shell is oftentimes very thin. And I'm just going to add that to my blender along with my apple cider vinegar or lemon juice and my sea salt. And then I'm just going to blend it up for just a couple seconds just to get it all mixed together. Just pulse it. Once it's all mixed together, now comes the technique. So, an emulsification is really just the mixing of the other ingredients with the fats to create this really beautiful creamy mayonnaise. But it takes a little bit of time, and if you were going to do this by hand with a whisk, it would take some serious elbow grease to make this work. But thankfully, we have a tool like a food processor to do that for us. But we want to go really slowly. So you are going to start with 1 drop of oil. Now, if you don't already have an oil container that has a top that allows you to pour just 1 drop at a time, you might want to put this in something like a measuring cup to make sure that you can just do drop by drop. But basically, here's what you're going to do. We're going to go ahead and turn it on and let it start rolling. So let the motor start rolling, and you're going to add 1 drop at a time for about 4 or 5 drops before we start adding more. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on and add 1 drop at a time. I'm going to just take the lid off right here, and that's going to allow me to add it with the motor running. I'm pausing it just to talk to you, but the key here is you want to keep the motor running. Once you have about those 5 drops of oil in there and mix in with the egg and the acid and the salt, then you can go ahead and start a very, very slow stream of oil. Let me show you. Once that oil starts fully incorporating, eventually you're going to be able to increase that stream a little bit and just keep on running the motor as you are adding the oil in. You'll need about a cup of oil for 1 egg. If you want to double the recipe, you can use 2 eggs and 2 tablespoons of vinegar and a teaspoon of salt, but I'm just doing a smaller recipe. This is going to make quite a bit, as you'll see, but the key is keep the motor running, start really slow, and eventually you can add more oil. Let's do it. If it ever feels like it's stopped absorbing oil, you can always take a second, stop, scrape the sides down, and then just let the motor run for a little while before adding any more oil. And warning, it does get a little bit messy sometimes. So I'm just gonna go ahead and scrape down the sides. You'll notice it's working because it starts getting nice and thick. And now it's up to you how thick you want your mayonnaise to be. The more you run it, the more oil you add, the thicker it'll get until it eventually gets to the point where it won't accept any more oil. So you'll notice that though once it starts getting too thick. Like it's done. There you have it, a really beautiful, delicious, easy homemade mayo that took like 5 minutes to make. You are never going to buy store-bought mayo again. Okay, I definitely still buy store-bought mayo and we like to keep it in our cupboard just in case, but this is going to ruin every other mayonnaise for you, I promise. If you'd like, you can add a little bit more salt or a little bit less next time. If you don't like it to be that seasoned, it is totally up to you. Follow along for more simple and delicious recipes that are gonna help you live a healthier, happier life.